Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com. Let's do yet another video on how to choose blocks versus wings, and this is March 2026 when I'm filming this. At this point, you can choose, at least in the US, you can choose, well, I think everywhere, whenever you do an Invisalign MA case, whether it be Invisalign First or Invisalign Comprehensive. If you don't know the difference, you can go into my YouTube channel. I won't go down that rabbit hole. You can search for those two keywords. But you can choose right now. There's different experiences, blocks versus wings. There's pros and cons to each of them. At the time I'm recording, I believe the blocks are a $100 surcharge. Again, anything I say here, if something is wrong, the C-suite team at Align Technology, not a rep, not a staff member, not a team member, the C-suite team, you know who you are. I know you. Can reach out to me directly and tell me if I said something wrong. But I believe the blocks are a $100 surcharge over the wings. I don't know if the wings before MA had a surcharge, but there was only wings. Now I believe only the blocks have the surcharge, but you're going to have to check your own pricing. Pricing is very dynamic with Invisalign. They're constantly changing it. So whatever I say in my video may not be the case in your country, or it may not be the case at the time that you're listening to that. So just check because they're constantly changing it. Pros and cons from my experience. I don't have a definitive winner. I would say for sure, if you think there's any chance your patient is mouth breathing, you definitely want to use wings and not blocks. That would be the first thing I'd say definitively, because you can see, I know this is grainy. This is something that I was able to share, but I did not have a good picture on it. So you can see here how the blocks stack like this, boom, boom, like just like a twin block. This is how a twin block works, right? So if you have a history of mouth breathing or TMD issues, you're going to have a lot of trouble with these blocks. Also, the other issue with these blocks is that they have a tendency to separate. A couple of doctors have told me that the blocks have come off the aligner. Because I mean, the way that they're like, it's not welding because it's plastic or acrylic, but however they are chemically adhered or melted together, fused, some occasionally. It does, I think it happened to one doctor one time, but one out of my very small group of doctors who are actually using MA, which is, I have a lot of doctors, but a small percentage are actually routinely using MA. So, I mean, that is significant to me that they fell apart. Of course, you can use warranty fit if that happens, but it's a hassle. And I'm wondering about the liability if the blocks fall. Just saying. Obviously that's more of an Invisalign problem if that happens and if something happens to your patient. So I would definitely talk to Invisalign if you're concerned about that. But the blocks might work better with two things blocks do better, in my opinion. And again, I don't know that there's any research on this. I haven't found any yet. I mean, these are newer products, right? So it's unlikely they're going to have some metadata long, retroactive study on something that didn't exist, right? These are FDA trademarks that were spun off of twin blocks, which have been around for dozens and decades and possibly a century. I don't know how long. So there's nothing new here in terms. It's just a new way that they constructed it with 3D CAD CAM. That's the only difference. It's not made in a lab benchtop. It's 3D printed version of a twin block that is soldered, that's attached to an aligner. And I might be saying this, biomaterials wise incorrectly, but you guys get the idea. Okay, so a lot of things I like about blocks, a lot of things I don't like about blocks, and they cost a little bit more. Wings are the OG. Nice thing about the wings is that you can still pretty much close down, and it makes it a little easy if you're a mouth breathing risk or a recovering mouth breather, I think. I feel like the patients think they're more comfortable. These little wingy things, if the patient has a parafunction habit or they like to grind or chew or swish or play around with their mouth and tongue, they will bend the heck out of these wings. I mean, this all comes down to habits. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to myo and habits. What things does your patient do? What things won't? Which one of these won't work for your patient? So if there's somebody, I'm just gonna put it spectrum kids. I'm on it. So I'm no disparagement here. Don't worry. We're the best. But if you got a spectrum kid, forget it. Or an ADHD kid, same thing. They're gonna chew the heck out of this up. I would do this. But then again, you might have less compliance with this. Although this sucker really, really works. From an MA perspective, for what they're intended to do, which is to grow the lower jaw, they both work great. As long as they don't get caught up on the problems with them, the chewing, the smushing. Once they start chewing and smushing these suckers don't fit. And then weird things can happen because they'll try to force it on. And then the teeth move really badly. So that's what I've seen. But anyways, they both work. The good news is if you don't like one and one doesn't work, you do a refinement, you switch to the other. I don't know if they're not going to charge you extra because it's part of the refinement. So it's not like a tragedy. It's not like you can only pick and you're stuck on this route. So, I mean, my thing is unless unless your patient has a super, super high angle. I mean, like, and if they had that much of a high angle, you should have sent them to ENT a long time ago. I hope you have an ENT release before you do an MA, because you are not getting compliance with that case. Or you're going to put the blocks in and they're just going to mouth breathe the heck, and they're going to just end up with this crazy POB. Sorry, it's not funny. It's early in the morning, too much coffee. Um, but yeah, I mean, if they had a super high angle, it does really help with the posterior intrusion. It really, really does. I mean, whew, these cases rarely intrude nicely. So that's the nice thing about the blocks. Also, for a really stubborn class two, whew, these blocks work really well. If you can get a patient to wear them, yes, they work. So that would be my preference. If it's someone who isn't as high angle, doesn't have parafunctional or, weird myo chewing habits, these should be just fine. A little cheaper, just go for it. More comfortable. All right. But if you're having issues with fit, go to this. All right. Thanks.